The Saudi Arabia UAE divide becomes public. A very important news when it comes to the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so the author of the article is Talmis Ahmad, and he's a former ambassador to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. So he can actually talk authentically about the relation between both the countries. So now you can see that both the nations are going on a competition actually. So now what is happening is competition basically. Now instead of cooperation, competition is happening. The problem is like both the nations belong to the same region, that is the West Asian region, and both nations, that is the Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they both these nations are having their own influence in the international system also. That is in the world affairs, both the nations are having a say and has its own importance and influence. So it is very important for us to understand about both the nations and what is the problem going on between Saudi Arabia and UAE. So one thing is for sure, that is regarding the regional politics. So regional politics, like who is going to become the more powerful country from this Arabian Peninsula. Okay, very important thing to be noted, because that is more about the geopolitical aspects, and both the nations wanted to do that. Saudi Arabia is already a hegemon in the region. You can actually see the history of Saudi Arabia. Then their influence in that region is really high. And on the other hand, UAE is also growing as a powerful nation in that area. So the conflict is mainly regarding who is going to become the most powerful nation in this region, which can influence the world affairs. Sometime before, you can see that both the countries were sharing a very cordial relation, and especially in terms of their attitude towards Qatar. Okay, how they were imposing sanctions on Qatar, and in the case of the problems that is going on in Yemen, Sudan, all these aspects, you can see that they were having a kind of a cordial relation. But in the recent time, what you can see that there is always a difference between both the countries. So one thing that need to be noted is regarding the Iran. So Iran is also a powerful nation in that region, and both these countries were having a very hostile attitude towards Iran. But recently, what we can see is Saudi Arabia is moving more closer to Iran, or in other words, what we can see is they are trying to build a very cordial relation with Iran. So all these are becoming some of the problems in this region, and their economic intention or their economic vision is another important competitive area. So both the countries, as we all know, are oil-rich nations, and they wanted to showcase their superiority in the region is also one another important aspect. And already UAE is considered to be a tourist destination, and almost all the important companies headquarters is actually there in Dubai or in UAE. You can see that. But now what is happening is, on the other hand, Saudi Arabia is also trying to welcome the companies to Riyadh. Okay, they wanted to make Riyadh as a capital for almost all the headquarters of the companies in the world. So all these things are actually putting a lot of problems in their relation between both the countries. So now let us try to understand their location. See, this is a map of the West Asia. So both the countries belong to West Asia. So here you can see Saudi. So from the map itself, you can see that it's a very large territory. Saudi Arabia is one of the largest territory in the Arabian Peninsula. And here you can see UAE. So UAE is very small compared to Saudi Arabia. It's very small. So apart from UAE and Saudi Arabia, you can also see Yemen, Oman, and Iran. So we have already mentioned that they were having a very hostile attitude towards Iran. In history, if you look at, you can see that they were having a very hostile attitude towards Iran. But recently, there are some changes happening in Saudi's attitude towards Iran. So here the other major countries are like the Turkey, then Syria, Iraq, Kuwait, etc. Okay, so this is how the region that you can actually see, that is the West Asian region. Now let us try to understand the important features of it's like a comparison features of both Saudi and UAE. One is regarding the language. Both the countries speak Arabic. Regarding the government form, you can see that in Saudi Arabia there is an absolute monarchy going on, and in UAE you can see that it's a federation of autonomous monarchies, because UAE is considered as an emirate, and there are many emirates in UAE like Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah, etc. So all these this become a union of all these emirates, and so that's why we are actually seeing it as a federation of autonomous monarchies. The capital of Saudi Arabia is Riyadh, and the capital of UAE is Abu Dhabi. So the two countries are now waging a quiet struggle. So basically a competition to determine who will emerge as the most influential nation from the Arabian region. Because from Arabian region, if any country is emerging as a superior power, you can see that they have their own say and their own influence in the international system also. So if you look at the history of their rivalry, you can see that its origin is there in the territorial disputes and also in the dynastic politics. So a rift between the two countries could have profound effects on the politics of the Gulf and on the American security strategy in the region. So very important to understand. So America also have trying to maintain a very cordial relation with both the countries. Why? Because it's a very strategic location. Okay, it's a very important strategic location for America and other Western countries also. So if there is a conflict between these two countries, it is not only affecting the Gulf region, that is the GCC region, but it also affects the American and the other European powers also. Okay, so the dispute over oil was only one aspect of more complicated rivalry involving different economic vision. So economic vision, we already mentioned, both the countries wanted to emerge as an economic power in the region. So that is also an important aspect that to be noted. And Saudi Arabia also decided to challenge UAE as a preferred headquarters location for most foreign firms doing business in the Gulf. So that is also another important aspect of their competition. Why? Because once Riyadh becomes a preferred location for the business, so the business companies in the world. So what you can see is that the relevance of UAE might go down. Okay, so that is also need to be taken very seriously. So from the prelims point of view and also from the mains point of view, you need to have a very clear idea regarding what is the exact position of UAE and the Saudi Arabia in terms of their relations and also in terms of their competition or rivalry, because both countries are really important for India. From the perspective of India, if you look at, we also have a very cordial relation between both the countries. Why? Because you can see that a lot of Indians are actually working in both these places as laborers and as businessmen and all. Many Indians are actually working in these regions, which will be really important for us and our economy. So India always try to maintain a very cordial relation between both the countries, the Saudi Arabia and also the UAE, because our Indian diaspora's presence in this region, and also a lot of people are actually working in these areas, especially in UAE and in Saudi Arabia. Not only in these two countries, in almost all the West Asian countries, you can see the presence of Indians. So it is very important for us from the foreign policy perspective of India, from the economic policy perspective of India. This area, this location is really important for us. So we need to have a very clear idea regarding what is going on between UAE and the Saudi Arabia. So which will be helpful for you in the international relations aspect. And also if you are preparing for the PSIR as an optional, so this information will really help you in that aspect also.